Okay, well, good afternoon, class. We are here today with the fabulous Rosalind Jackson, and I'm going to read you her bio. Rosalind, this week we're actually studying bios in the class, so the students have seen, like a one-liner, one that's like a paragraph long, you know what I mean? So we're actually studying bio, so I'm going to go ahead and read your bio.
Great.
All right, so Rosalind Jackson is a screenwriter and television and film producer. Her multimedia company, Wordy Girl Entertainment, specializes in television and film production, script consulting, and podcasting. Is that about right?
Yep, that's it.
I'm sure it's 10 million more things on there that you can't list, right? Because even just in that, but you guys get the gist of it. Okay, so Rosalind is responsible for certain couple of movies. First one here I have, well, this is BET. This is not a movie, right? What is Games People Play?
That's a TV show.
TV show, okay, on BET, and that's current, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys check that out on BET. Rosalind is responsible for Dion's Playbook, right? That was on OWN.
Dion's Family Playbook. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dion's Family Playbook, and that starred the NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders. And some of you probably don't know who that is because they're so young, but he's a big deal. When I first saw that, I was like, yeah, that's Deion. But my students are going to be like, no, who is that? Because they're just too young. But trust me, you guys, he's a big deal. And also on the playbook is Dion's Playbook is producer Tracy Edmonds, and then also Rosalind is responsible for a movie called With This Ring that was on Lifetime in 2015, starring Regina Hall. We all know who Regina Hall is, Jill Scott and Eve. And this was from the book called The Vow. And this is actually how I think I came to know you, Rosalind, was through Deneen Milner. Yeah, Deneen is a writing colleague of mine, and she was actually the first, I think she was one of the first, if not the first person to publish me. So I have a special place in my heart for Miss Deneen, who's out there taking over the world right now. But also with Deneen, it was Angela Burt Murray and Mitzi Miller. So that is from the book The Vow. Also, let's see, it says here, part of the bio that I'm kind of chopping up, Miss Rosalind earned her bachelor degree in TV production from Cal State Northridge, which I refer to as CSUN, because I was one of guys like, whoop, whoop, okay. So we definitely have the Matadors representing today. So that is kind of a chopped up version of the bio, but I will give them the official bio. I just kind of wanted to read through it and let them see how bios can look. Obviously when you're first starting out, it's kind of like a one-liner, right? You know what I mean? And then as you keep going, you build on it. But then you kind of have to decide what to leave out, right? But so yeah, they're learning that today. But once again, thank you so much. We had some technical difficulties, you guys, and you know all about that. But we're rolling now, so we're going to go ahead and get started. No, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't her fault. But we're going to start with the questions. Okay. So the first question that I have from our students is, because I mentioned to them that you have a podcast, and there's quite a few in the class that are interested in podcasting. So a couple of the questions are about podcasting. So this one just wants to know, how does someone start a podcast? Or how did you start yours?
Basically what I did was I started on what I have on my computer. I didn't have to buy fancy equipment or anything. Like my computer, I have a Mac laptop, and it comes with GarageBand. Software that's already on there, and I use that to record it. And then I did buy a basic microphone. You don't have to use your computer speakers. Or you can use your headphones. With your cell phone. So I started with those, and then you do have to have a place where they host your podcast. And that's where they house your files. I use Potomatic. But
Okay.
they have several different ones out there. And you sign up. They have sometimes they have like a basic account where you pay like a minimal amount, and then you have a medium sized account, and then you just have a professional one, which costs a little more. But I suggest start out with the basic account that they offer. You'll probably end up spending maybe like $25 a month or something like that. There may be some free ones out there. I'm not quite sure. It may give you a few hours a month or something like that. But yeah, just start with what you have, and then just basically, if you have to buy anything, you buy the minimum, just to get yourself started.
Okay.
And figure out what your theme of your podcast is, what your niche is, and then just create topics around that niche. Figure out, kind of brainstorm some ideas of what that topic is, and come up with ideas. And you have to decide what kind of podcast you want to do, whether if you're going to just have yourself talking about your topic, or if you're going to interview guests. You can do both. So just make a decision if you want to do both or one or the other. And that should get you going. To start with.
Okay. Do you think it was easier for you because you already work, in the industry, behind the scenes, producing, writing, all of that? So for someone who's fairly new, a lot of these students are second year students because this is a requirement for their major. It also can be a general elective for English, but most of the students are new media majors. So if they don't have a lot of hands-on, experience, do you think it would be fairly simple for them, or do you think it was maybe easier for you because of what you do already?
Well, for me, I'm kind of naturally, technically savvy. So I was able to, but I still didn't know exactly what I needed to do in the beginning. So I looked up how to do things on YouTube. YouTube University is very helpful. And you can find some great videos that will break things down, and explain it very easy for you for like new beginners. So yeah, I would say go to YouTube and figure out how to get started.
Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure they're familiar with that. I think I might be one of the few people left that doesn't think YouTube first. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. But I think I might be one of the last of the Mohicans in that. All right. So the next student wants to know, for you to succeed in being a screenwriter and filmmaker, do you have to be located in California?
These days, it's like a yes and no. These days, because of the pandemic and how everything is set up now, the industry has to work around that. So you kind of don't really need to be in LA per se, except for if something is actually shooting in LA, then of course. But the way things are structured these days, you don't necessarily have to be there to start with. You can, look for if there's any, it depends on what city you live in. In New York, there's always things filming there. So that's a good spot to be in. Just find out like what productions are taking place in the city. You could probably call what are they called? The city commission office or city film office.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes.
They have pretty much a list of like what current productions are filming in the city at the moment. You could probably find out things that way. But if you're working on your own projects, of course you can do your thing at home. And when you're ready to try to sell your project or shop it around, you can still do that from wherever you live. Just reach out to the people wherever they're located. If they're in LA, only time it'll come down to you needing to be in LA is like probably if they're, like I said, they're shooting it there, and or if you're a writer, and that's where the writer's room is. Of course you have to live in LA and be, part of the writer's room every day. But
talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us a little bit about that. What is the writer's room? Because I think we've all heard, or at least, I know I have. I don't know how much they have, but I've definitely heard that term before. So what is that exactly, the writer's room?
That is the room where when you're doing television shows, and the show has a certain amount of writers. Every show is different. Like our show is a 1-hour drama. So we had, I believe we had about 6 to 8 writers on the show, if I remember correctly. So basically, they all come together and they write the series. The showrunner writes the first episode, and then that sets the tone for the season, the story for the season. And once they get that pilot episode written, they bring in a team of writers. So everybody, they flesh out the story together, the storyline for the whole season, and they work on it. However many episodes is. Ours was 10 episodes, so they'll come together and they'll all create those 10 episodes together. They'll brainstorm together, like say put together episode 2. They'll brainstorm for that, and then one person gets assigned to write the actual episode after everybody has contributed, the ideas for that particular episode. So then that one person says, "Oh, we'll assign you. You'll get this episode, and you take our outline of how this episode is supposed to go, and you go write it based on our outline." And so each writer will get an episode. Sometimes a writer doesn't always get an episode. Depends on the show, because some bigger shows, if it's a newer writer, a staff writer, they may not get the opportunity to write an actual episode, but they always contribute to every episode by, the brainstorming ideas for the outline.
Okay. All right. You introduced a couple of key terms too. I'm glad you said them because they're going to hear them again on a quiz. But you kind of. That's awesome. I'm glad you said that. It just made me think of the other day I was watching something on YouTube. I think it was for Ghost. And I think the cast was talking about, the process before the initial episode aired, and they had, Courtney and, all the crew and all the staff on, and they were talking about the writer's room, kind of like we're talking about right now. And it's something that I know that students are familiar with, especially because so many of them watch the behind the scenes, work that's what's happening. So, but they'll hear these terms and you don't always, know what they mean. So that's cool that you said that. You also said showrunner, because they're going to hear that one again. Definitely. But that's good to know. I think for the most part it is still true. We know that a lot with the pandemic has changed. A lot of people have been working remotely. People have been able to do a lot wherever they are, right, or wherever they choose to be. But I think some of the students, at least some of the ones that I've talked to, still pretty much have it set in their mind, which is kind of what I believe. If you want to work, in TV, film, you move to California. That's why so many people do that, right? And then if you're more interested in like being a writer and different, used to be, you would stay in New York. But now writing, you can really write anywhere. But it used to be like New York was the mecca, right? If you want to be an author, in LA, if you want to be an actor, if you want to be behind the scenes, producing, screenwriting, whatever, you went to LA. So we know the world has opened up more now, and we have more opportunities. But essentially, for what you're saying, certain things still have to be on the location in-house, right? That's just kind of, okay, all right, that makes sense. Okay, another podcasting question. I told you a lot of them want a podcast. How long have you had, that's what they mean, how long have you had your own podcast for? That's what that question's supposed to be.
I've actually had my podcast for a few years now. I want to say about 3 years. Only thing with me, and you guys don't do this, I've procrastinated. So like I would start it and stop, and I wasn't really sure of, where I wanted to take it. And like I said, procrastination was a big part of it. So I kind of would stop for several months, and then pick it back up. So I've had it a long time. I just haven't been consistent with it, which is something I'm working on now. So I would say if you do get your podcast, be consistent with it, because that will hold your audience. They'll keep people coming back. I've actually experienced a dip in my audience because me being inconsistent, So I'm working on building that back up. So be consistent with your podcast, show up every week. Usually the best schedule is to have like a weekly show. Most people do once a week. Some people do daily podcasts, but I would say to start out, that might be a lot to handle. And your topic may not fit a daily format. So that probably, most likely won't be necessary. You may find you can do 2 episodes a week. It just all depends on, your topic and how you present it. But the standard is 1 episode a week, weekly podcast, and just be consistent with it, which is what I've learned.
Okay. Well, this is what I love about doing these interviews with professionals, because a lot of times you kind of answer another question, you know what I mean, within the course of, so that was because that was a question, is how long or how many do you recommend, especially starting out, once a week, twice a week, couple times a month. And I know that, as a writer for some of the publications I write for, we have what's called evergreen pieces. So that means, it can be any time, right? And then always the timely pieces when you're trying to write when certain things are happening. So I was wondering, in relation to one of the questions from the students, if you could really have enough content to have a daily podcast, or would it benefit you to have more evergreen type pieces that you could have like kind of in your library, and then maybe come on if there was something, timely. Like for someone starting out, I would think doing daily would be a lot, but I mean, I guess people have done it. I don't know, maybe. But anyway, that was kind of a question, I guess, or maybe a comment.
Yeah, it depends on your format, because I listen to a few podcasts that are daily, and those are usually one in particular, it talks about different affirmations for the day. So it'll be short. It'll be maybe like a 5-minute podcast, 5 to 8 minutes or so. And They'll do daily affirmations and use that topic and just give a little motivational message daily. Another one I listen to offers like health solutions daily. And they're very brief, like 5 minutes or so. So something like that would be easy to do daily.
Okay, all right, that's good for them to know. I don't have any intentions on doing a podcast, but who knows? It's only Saturday, right? All right. So the next student question for you is, what genre of film do you like to make?
I'm a drama girl. I love dramas the best because is something about the real life aspect of dramas that gets my attention, because I like to get into a story. I like to feel, what's going on. I like to connect with the characters. So for me, drama it reflects everyday life more so than comedy. So that's my favorite.
So how would you, what would be the distinction between drama as opposed to reality, or is there?
Well, a drama show is like, for instance, our show, Games People Play. It's fictional. So it's made up, but it's reflective of real life situations, or, things that people go through in their real life. Whereas reality shows, they are based on real people living their real lives. Although, things can be set up. A lot of people tend to think reality shows are staged, and they're written. There's a little bit of truth to that. Whereas, because you can't just have people sitting on their couch talking to each other about mundane things, you turn the channel. So
the way to approach that is a producer will come in and say, oh, what do you have going on in your life right now? And maybe they're planning their son's 13th birthday party or something. And say it's about the reality show is about, you know, families, whatever. You may have this other cast member. Oh, what do you have going on in your life right now? Oh, well, my son's turning 13 too. And so, oh, they're like, oh, you both have kids that are turning 13. Why don't we do an episode where you bring their party together? They're having a birthday party together. That's as far as it will go, as far as like them creating a moment. So those people come together at that party, and whatever happens is what they record for the show. And of course, there's editing and stuff. But that's as far as it goes with the producers creating situations. You know, they call it, they get accused of being scripted, and they're usually not.
Okay. Well, and I think the only reason I wanted to ask that question and make that distinction, because I think it also depends on how old you are. Because if you've been, you know, if you're, I'm just going to throw out an age, I could be wrong. Let's just say under 25. And so your entire life there's been reality shows, and then you hear the you know, and I say the kids, but you know, the younger people say, or the students say, oh, so much drama, or that's drama, or that's all drama. Like, you hear the word drama so much now that, to me, I think sometimes it loses its meaning, because it's just like, you know, a reality show. There is drama on a reality show, but a reality show is not a dramatic show. Like, for me, I'm thinking when I was younger, like Dynasty, and you know what I mean, and Dallas, and you know, those were drama, right? And soap opera, it was drama. So that's the only reason why I want to ask the question, because I hear that a lot, and one of the questions was pertaining to that, more so like the reality show was a drama, you know, and it's not like in a true sense of the word.
Dramatic situations in it because you do need that for, you know, you need conflict to keep people watching. So
right.
You know, it does have that aspect to it.
Okay. Yep. No, I'm glad you said it. I'm telling you that interviewing professionals makes everything easy. Next student wants to know, what is your favorite script that you've written?
That I've written? What is my favorite one? I would say well, I would say this, it's the first one that I wrote, like it was a feature length, and it was based around the music industry, because I used to work in the music industry years ago, and so that was my favorite one, because it was based off of things that I observed in the music industry. So it was basically writing what I knew, and it was close to home. So of course I consider it my babies, and I still have that script. I still want to make it one day, even though it's very, very old, but I still want to make it one day.
Okay. All right. So we'll keep an eye out for your baby. We'll know once you make it, then you can tell us what it is, right? But right now everything is on the hush until you have it. I get that. You got to keep everything closed, right?
That's true.
I totally get that. Next student wants to know, about how long does it take to write a screenplay?
Oh, well, that's a loaded question. It varies. It depends on what kind of script you're writing. Are you writing a sitcom? Are you writing a drama, you know, for television, or are you writing a feature, you know, which is longer? Of course, a feature is the longest. It's usually they run these days about 100 pages. Could be a little less if it's a comedy, maybe about 85 to 90 pages. Drama is usually about 100 to 120. So it all depends on what kind of script you're writing. It depends on your writing pace. Procrastination, you know, comes in if you have issues with that. But let's just take, if you are someone who writes consistently every day. If you're writing let's say a feature, I'd say maybe a couple of months. maybe a month.
Well, no, and I mean, I apologize because I realize that that's really a difficult question to answer because, like you just said, everybody's process is different. What are you working on? How many hours do you have, or do you have hours to work on it every day? It's almost like saying, you know, how long does it take to write a book? Well, mine, currently we're going on 15 years. You know what I mean? But some people could do a book in 3 months. So I think they can gauge from your answer. It really does depend on what they're writing. Like there's just no set time.
Will say if you are interested in television writing, you need to practice writing fast. Because if you are on a television show, you're in a writer's room, you have to turn around your writing within days.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, if you know that you're not a fast writer, I would go toward features. But you know, you can challenge yourself even if you're not a fast writer. Challenge yourself to write faster. If you want to write in television, don't let it stop you.
Right.
Practice it.
Right.
You can improve. You write every day. You can build up those skills where you're able to turn around things fast. And I would say get in a writing group amongst your friends. Get together a writing group, other writers,
Right.
And pitch your ideas to each other. You can also read your scripts to each other out loud, and you can get feedback from each other on what you know feel work, things like that. So that could be very helpful.
And you know, I'm glad you brought that up too, because that leads me to another question for the students. How would someone that's considered an amateur, right, go about formatting, kind of like what you were talking about, or finding
a writing group, because it's kind of, they all are in the same place, they really don't know, you know, much. How would they go about not only finding the other people to work with, but also to have someone giving real critique so that they could get better if they're all kind of starting at the same place?
Right. I would say if they're in a school setting, you know, find out what other students are interested in joining the group, and then get together and then maybe ask a professor if they are willing to take a look at, you know, their work, and help guide them, you know, in the right direction. I would say start there.
That's an excellent idea, because I know that question's coming, and I
But they could be a lot of help to each other, because even if they're at the, you know, the beginning level, they still, because they have an interest in, you know, TV and film, they know what they like to see on screen. So you know, that part of it they can, you know, help each other out with. And then I would say definitely, you know, read screenwriting books, you know, on how to write and things like that. And then just judge your work based on, you know, the findings, you know, from books and things like that also.
No, actually, yeah, that's an excellent idea, because like you said, I mean, they're all pursuing, or they all have a similar interest, and it's gonna like naturally flow between them, and oh, I like that, and oh, maybe you might want to try that. So yeah, that's an excellent idea. This next student question, I think you kind of already answered it. They wanted to know, does a screenplay change during filming?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh yes.
So I mean, yeah, you kind of already talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to tell new writers is that you must get used to rewriting. A lot of new writers cringe at the thought of rewriting something, and they get frustrated. We have, you know, professional writers who still don't like to rewrite, you know, but that is a part of the game, and I would say get used to it at the door, because that's going to be your whole entire career, is rewriting things, because the professionals even have to rewrite, you know. So I would just say get used to rewriting, build your rewriting skills, because that is a skill. So you have to be able to learn how to take a note. If you get a note from the studio or the network or a producer, you have to be able to know how to address that note. So that's a whole thing in itself.
Okay. Well, yeah, we hear that a lot. I've heard it a lot, and I say it to my students a lot. Writing is rewriting. That's what it is. Nothing is ever permanent.
Exactly.
So it's like you said, if you just keep that in mind, you don't take it personal, you know that's just part of the game, and be able to make those adjustments and those edits, quick, then you might be in good shape.
Yeah.
This question is from a student that wants to know what inspired you to enter the world of films?
Well, I actually first started in music. Like I mentioned earlier, I started at a record company because music was my first love. But at the time when I was in school, there was nothing to major in as far as the music business. At that time, if you were going to major in music, it had to be you were playing music, you played an instrument or something like that. There were no actual business courses for music at the time. Of course, now they have them, full-fledged programs that
Right.
focus on the music industry on the business side. So at that time, I was like, well, there's nothing for me to major in with music. What is the next best thing? And that was television and film, because that was the next thing I liked to do. So I was like, oh, well, let me major in TV. At first, I was going to major in film, but I switched it to TV because one of the counselors said that there's more work in television. He was like, major in TV production, you'll get more work, but you can still do films also, at the same time. But he recommended the film, TV, which is what I did. So once I got into it and start taking classes, I really started to get into it more, develop more of an interest. And then I had an internship. And then it also opened me up to what actually goes on. And so I just fell in love with it at that point. And so ever since then, I haven't turned back.
Awesome. And here I am majoring in child development at Northridge. I don't even think I knew, you know what I'm saying? I should have been over there with you. That's good to know. And I mean, shout out to those counselors too, right? Because it's not about you went in with something specific, but then they kind of guide you because like you want to work, essentially. You want to get so where that more likely to happen. So so I love that. And you're still doing it to this day, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the next student wants to know, where do you see the media industry going within the next 5 years? And they didn't specify. One of the things that I told them at the beginning of the class, I mean, media is everywhere and everything. So that's a really broad question to ask you, but I guess specific to what you do, how do you see that, or where do you see that going in the next 5 years?
I would probably say becoming even bigger with streaming, because streaming is very big right now. And of course, the pandemic made that even more so. It was already headed in that direction, but the pandemic made it more so. But I think we'll probably see more of like your everyday filmmaker having more access to that. I think we'll probably see people with their own individual streaming services. Like it'll probably be kind of like how YouTube is, like everybody can have their own YouTube channel,
Right.
but it's still YouTube. It's not something that you own. I think it'll probably eventually get to the point where people have their own individual streaming services that they own themselves. I think that's probably where it's headed. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Rosalind Jackson TV, or
Exactly.
$99 a month, put that in your budget, right?
Right. Yeah, because it's like a lot of content creators face issues where you have your YouTube channel or your Instagram page or TikTok or whatever, and they face issues where sometimes those channels just get taken down for whatever reason. Things that are even out of their control. They can be following the rules and everything, and sometimes they'll experience what's called shadow banning now. I believe that's the term, whereas you kind of get hidden from your viewers. And people don't see your content as often. It gets, sucked into the algorithm, and it's not being presented to people as often. So then you lose views and likes and whatnot. But if you have your own thing, no one can do that. No one can take it away from you. And we have that now in the case of where people, if you have your own website, like they always say, even if you're a content creator, if you have your YouTube, your Instagram or whatever, always have your own website and your own mailing list. So if you ever get taken down from, say, YouTube or Instagram, you still have that connection with your audience through your website and your mailing list, because you own that.
Right.
And you're able to reach out to that audience again if YouTube is not there, and you can rebuild. So
that's excellent. Actually, that's an excellent point. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I think a lot of people probably think, oh, YouTube is forever. I can store my content there, whatever, not really thinking about they still ultimately have that control. And if they decide, nope, no more, then what do you do?
Right.
And so that's an excellent point. Thank you, because I'm pretty sure we actually have a couple of students in the class that have their own YouTube channels. So I think that's really good to know that they don't already have their own website, to make sure that they have that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Oh, I like this question. So the next student wants to know, who is your biggest inspiration when it comes to making films?
Oh, I would say Shonda Rhimes. She's my favorite writer, because I consider myself to be first and foremost a writer, and then a producer. So I really admire her, because she came on the scene and just took it by storm, and created these huge shows on these huge network channels. And she just came with, they were successful, and she was, allowed to do more and more and more because of how successful her shows were and how talented she is as a writer. So, and she just took the industry by storm, and her shows are amazing. And, of course, Grey's Anatomy has been on, what, 50 years now? It's probably in season 20 something by now, I believe.
It used to be Thursday night, right? I mean, you couldn't even do nothing if it wasn't related to grades, private practice, scandal. You know what I mean? Like that was, I had those shows, so I definitely,
Yes.
I mean, we started talking about Scandal, that came later, but I think I started with grades, and I mean, literally can't do anything. I have to see grades, and I have to. So I get it.
Yeah.
Right. She came on the scene, and wow, so
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me that she would be your inspiration, your biggest inspiration.
Yeah. And she not only, does the writing, of course, she's a showrunner, and she's a producer, so she does both. And I aspire to be like her because I do both. So, you have to be a showrunner, you have to, do more than just be a writer. You have to know how to manage people, because that's a lot of what is involved with that, managing the show budget, casting, getting the crew together. Of course, you have a line producer who does, the day-to-day stuff about that, but you have to make the overall decisions on that stuff as a showrunner. So it involves more than just writing. A lot of people, a lot of new runners say, oh, I want to be a showrunner, not knowing that it comes with that kind of responsibility too. Not only are you just the head of the show, you have to run the show, the day-to-day operations of the show also. So, always be informed of what you want to do. Make sure you know what's involved.
No, that is true. I mean, I don't, Shonda Rhimes is everything. Yeah, I just know, I mean, clearly I don't do much because I just watch a bunch of TV, but I mean, I have those nights where this is what I'm doing. This is Shonda night, you know what I mean? You just get like, and have those shows, and they just, and they're just so iconic, part of the culture. They are the culture, and so
yeah. And Scandal became my favorite show of all time. That's my favorite show of all time.
You know what? I used to I mean, not that anybody cares what I think, but I used to live tweet Scandal.
Yes.
With my 2 followers, but it was just so it was just so fun to just take it
Mhm.
on the screen and, type. And at that time, I got my mom involved with Twitter because, she didn't know what Twitter was and didn't care. It was just fun. That show just really, for me, was, I mean, I love Grays and I still love Grays, but,
Mhm.
I think it was, Kerry Washington. I mean, just the entire cast,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
we waited for that night. I think it used to be right,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Nothing else happened. So yes, I'm with you there. Definitely. So one of the last questions from the students is, well, I'll wait and ask that last. No, I'll ask it now. Okay. So I just want to know, what are some of your upcoming projects that you're working on?
Let's see, what do we have in the works? With under Edmonds Entertainment, we have let's see which we had a show called College Hill. Your students are probably too young to remember that. It was a reality show. It was the first Black reality show, and it was on BET about all the college life at historically Black universities and colleges. So it's been off the air for years now, but people have always asked about it. Oh, when are you going to bring it back? We want to see it again. And we're circling around bringing something back pretty soon. We're going to make a formal announcement soon, but we're just letting people know, look out, we have something coming involving College Hill. So stay tuned for that. Another thing we have in the works is a movie with Queen Latifah. It's going to be on Netflix. It'll be Queen Latifah and Ludacris. And it's based on like this family road trip that goes wrong. So that's coming out soon. Probably, I want to say maybe the fall of this year. So that'll be on Netflix. What else do we have? We also have a show. It'll be on HBO. It's a show called it's gonna be called Invisible Life, based on the books written by Evelyn Harris. So those will be coming to HBO. That's in the writing process right now. So we haven't even begun production yet. So that may take about a year or two to surface on television.
Right.
What else do we have? I think those are the main things we have, and then we have other things that are in early development that we're still searching for writers and networks or studios to pick up. But those are the main things we have coming up.
Well, I love that. I love, the thought of maybe College Hill coming back, and it seems really timely because, so many people now are more familiar, if they weren't before, with the HBCUs, if it's because of Kamala Harris and everyone kind of, learning about, Greek life, by way of our vice president, or, just seeing different things that I think students will hear. But it's kind of a school that, you see that, it's kind of like foreign to you. So I love that might come back to the big screen and big screen, you know what I mean? For them to be able to delve into that. I love that. And also with respect to, what's the last show you just mentioned? It was after College Hill. My goodness.
The one with Queen Latifah?
And Ludacris. I mean, I love that too, because I mean, now I'm telling my age, but I literally just watched the first Are We There Yet? I think last night. And I haven't had anything kind of, like that I know of. So just the whole family trip. You always know, if you're taking a family trip, something's gonna go wrong, right?
Right.
So
that one's called End of the Road.
Okay, that's gonna be awesome. I love Queen Latifah. That's why I was clapping when you said her name, Ludacris. That just the combination of those two. That's gonna be lit. I like that. So thanks for giving us. I feel like we have like a little inside, little little inside information. And then the last question, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but let's see if I can ask it a different way. As far as the films that you've been associated with. Do you think that there's like a theme that kind of stayed within in terms of the films that you're working on? Is there an overall theme there, or are they kind of just, drama,
Um, well, for Tracy, she usually likes feel-good movies.
Okay.
Movies that will either make you laugh or make you relate to, whatever is happening in the story. But pretty much things that are feel good moments. Yeah.
And I love that, because don't we need that?
Absolutely, especially nowadays.
So much of everything else. I mean, if that's
Mhm.
that's your jam, there's plenty of other, things out there. I love when I can just kind of sit down and it's either just gonna make me be able to just chill or laugh. You know what I mean?
Right. Hmm.
Because there's so much heavy now.
Yeah.
So I like to feel good. I like to
Yeah,
feel
I'm the opposite. I'm kind of weird, where I like heavy dramas. So those I tend to gravitate towards that. Or like my favorite type of movie is dealing with spies, some kind of special forces or special ops type. I love those kind of movies. So yeah, I'm a little opposite.
What is your all-time favorite movie? Do you have one that you can put down, or do you have like a long list?
Yes, I have my one favorite of all time. Anybody who knows me, they know what it is. Like, I'm obsessed with it. It's Love Jones.
Wait a minute. Stop. Okay, Rosalind, that's why it must be a Northridge thing. I don't know. My favorite, literally. Love Jones, I can watch it, and then I'll go to like Love and Basketball, and I'll start like making the list, but they're all 90s.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
can't believe it.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were gonna say something else.
And then, well, here's the thing. Because I worked at Edmonds Entertainment. The writer and director of Love Jones came in for a meeting one time. And I immediately, knew who he was. And I said, "Oh my God, I love your movie so much. It's my favorite movie of all time." And I let him know I had a poster at that time. I didn't have it there, of course, at work, but I said, "I have a poster. If you ever come back, I want you to sign my poster." And then luckily he was scheduled to come back for another meeting. So I had my poster ready, and then something happened where I didn't have the right pen to write on it. He needed a Sharpie. And
Right. Yep.
weirdly enough, there were no Sharpies around at that moment. So he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna come back. I'll sign it next time I come back." Well, it ended up that project didn't take off, so he ended up not coming back.
Oh,
Fast forward years later
okay.
to Games People Play. He was a writer on the show. So I was like, "Oh, great. I'll get to meet him again. I'll have him sign my poster." So he came in when the show started and I said, "Oh, you have to sign my poster." He's like, "You still have that poster?" I was like, "Yes." So you have to sign it. So he signed it for me. And of course, I got to, work with him every day because he was a writer on the show. And so that was just a full circle moment. It was amazing. I was like, "Oh, that's my favorite movie of all time." And, people in the office would tease me like, "Oh, huh?"
I'm gonna have to tell the students, because I'm sure they have no clue.
Right. His name is Theodore Witcher, Ted Witcher.
Right?
Huh?
And then I'll tell them, this is your Black History Month assignment. I'm gonna give you 5 movies that you have to watch, and Love Jones has to be, and Boomerang has to be on there too.
Oh yes, that's another favorite. Yes.
Love Jones, not just the movie, but the soundtrack. I mean, just everything.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Soundtrack was amazing. And it was my favorite thing about Love Jones was it was a movie that was about, young people in their careers. They were upwardly mobile. They loved the arts, and that just spoke to me at the time, because that's what I was into at the moment. So it connected, and of course you got the love story, and the main thing I love about the female character was the way Ted wrote her. She was not your typical romance female character. whereas, they're usually kind of needy or clingy. She was very, she was very independent. She knew who she was. She knew what she wanted. And it was basically, I would like to find a great guy to take on that ride with me, So she was, I liked her strength in the story. She wasn't made to be like this, clingy character. So that's what I really loved about it.
No, she's definitely not. Well, now I feel like I have to ask you what's your favorite TV show of all time, since we talked about movies, just before we wrap up.
Scandal.
Forever and ever, from when you were a kid till now. Okay.
Yep. It took over. When I saw Scandal, I was just floored by it, and by Shonda's writing. So that became my favorite show of all time. I would say my second show would be House of Cards.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that show. I even have that show's theme song as my ringtone on my phone.
Okay, you're all in there.
Yeah. Yes, it's a second close. Only thing is with House of Cards, I was disappointed with the last season. I think they tanked it, and it wasn't written very well, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I still love the show, so that would have to be number 2 after Scandal.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been fun, and I mean, I feel
Thank
like
you.
that's not supposed to be for me, but I definitely, you answered all the questions that they had, and then some. And I mean, I think they're going to be so much better prepared, whether they enter the field, this semester, next semester, 2 years from now, ever, just with some of the jewels that you dropped today. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you spending this time. I cannot believe we have the same favorite movie of all time. I'm just totally buzzing out, But yes, really, really, really thankful for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, definitely. And we will definitely look out for what's coming, maybe possibly around the College Hill,
Yes.
resurgence maybe. And I'll tell the students just to keep looking out for your name, because I have a feeling we're going to keep seeing it, right?
Oh, yes, we pray, we hope.
But yeah, so thank you very much. And I mean, I will definitely stay in touch with you. I would love to, have you back at another time if that's possible. But yeah, this was awesome. And
thank you so much.
Questions and they want to reach out, I'll just tell them maybe to follow you on what social media are you on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can follow me on Instagram. That's where I am mostly. Okay. I don't do Twitter. I'm like, I can't do Twitter. But they can find me on Instagram at Wordy Girl ENT.
Okay. I'll definitely give them that information. Like I said, your bio is in our class picture bio, and I think it's at the bottom of your logo too, I think.
Okay.
Just in case if somebody, says, hey, I saw you in my class or whatever, that'll be.
And they can email me too. They can email me at Rosalind at wordygirlent.com.
Thank you so much. And I'll definitely put that, I'll put that in the classroom as well. But I am going to let you go, but thank you so much. Right. Sorry about the beginning, but we got it.
Oh, no, that was my fault. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we'll get everything edited, and I mean, they won't see this part, but we'll get everything edited, and then I'll post it in the class, and then I'm happy to send you a link if you want to.
Yeah, I would love to look at it.
A lot of times the students will ask questions after the fact too, but I can't control that, but they might. But I mean, I think it would be nice for you to be able to see it, and they get out of their questions, because I can't ask all their questions. So I just try to narrow them down. So they get really excited. Oh, she answered my question, Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. When I come home, we have to try to get together. I don't know when that's
absolutely. Yes.
Rosalind, to come to LA. Well, it was kind of at the height of the pandemic. Every time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna even try to go with that. There's a reason.
Yeah.
I'm definitely trying to get back there pretty soon. So I will definitely, when I come home.
Yeah, let me know. Definitely. I would love to get together.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm over here with no shoes on, but can't nobody see that. You know how it is.
You're right.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right, thank you so much. I really
Okay.
appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.